Also joining us is Melissa LuVisi. She has over 15 years of marketing and technology experience in thriving tech environments. Melissa was instrumental in launching the auditing arm of FedEx Ground Real Estate Department. She was one of the first executive team members at Tender Greens Restaurants, an upscale chain listed in Forbes America's Most Promising Companies in 2014. And then she went on to establish a boutique social media marketing firm before joining the Tab 32 sales team in 2017. So she brings a wealth of business experience to her role at Tab 32, and then now has, a good 4 years of DSO experience under her belt. So Melissa, very happy to have you.
First, I want to give a huge thank you to Women in DSO and Dr. Aman Kar, who for the first time, at least in the last half decade that I've been going to these DSO events, we're finally starting to see women on the stage. She, handpicked different women and leaders from Women of DSOs at the DEO for one of their panels, and really seeing that shift and that movement has been amazing and is inspiring as a woman leader within my organization. We're also going to hit 100 employees by the end of this year, which is very exciting. And I'm pretty excited to say that almost 70%, if not more, organization-wide are women, and about 80% within leadership roles, which we feel is exactly how it should be. We think that, we staff and recruit from dental, which is mostly women. So, it's really important that we continue to show the visibility of women and the expertise of the boots on the ground and the women that we all work with day to day, whether it's our clients or other leaders within the industry. So Tab 32 was founded by our CEO and founder, Kitesh Patel. He comes out of the medical side of things, working at the University of California. He worked in big data projects and has been published on papers such as the Genome Project, as well as the Bronca disease, and oversaw implementations for UC San Diego's as well as UC Davis's hospital systems. So coding against things like Epic and Certa. And he really felt that technology wasn't serving patients. And so he looked at 3 areas of medicine where he felt he could have the biggest impact. And then he worked in a dental office for a group for 2 years before he even started building. He then convinced our technical founders to join Tab 32 to develop this. So we're talking specialists in medical informatics as well as artificial intelligence, all coming out of the University of California. That makes up our founding tech founders. Since hitting the market in 2017, we have grown 100% year after year. And what you're looking at is real numbers of people on our platform today. So, over 500 million in production coming through the platform with our different practices. As we grow and as the industry consolidates, I'm sure everyone on this panel is seeing that. We're onboarding more and more DSOs, because what we're realizing is that the on-prem solutions aren't meeting the enterprise needs of the growing industry. Back to technology not meeting the needs of the patients. We hear this a lot in dental, patient first, but what does that really mean? And for us, it meant that we really needed to break down what the patient journey was and build a software that could meet the needs of the patient across the care continuum. So we didn't want to copy what had been done before. We really wanted to build a software from the ground up. And in that process, we realized, as the industry was changing, we had a lot of vision in that regard, that we really do have 2 different sectors or pillars, if you will, within the industry. So we have our independent needs, which really do require some standardization. Maybe independent practices don't have as many resources as DSOs, even if they're aspiring to become DSOs. So how do we meet them where they're at the same time as serving the patients? We really felt that the needs weren't being met. So on-prem solutions require a lot of third-party integrations, which can be incredibly costly. It also means that, from our perspective, we really believe that in order to innovate, you do have to build from the ground up. So by bringing all of that into one comprehensive, efficient solution, we are able to then innovate and work hand in hand with our DSOs. with the third-party integrations, the other issue is you just have inefficiencies. Anyone who's been in the dental industry has updated their PMS and has to deal with a lot of these third-party integrations breaking. This affects not only our staff and our operations, but it also affects our IPIDA. And as we try to grow our practice, these are the type of problems our groups are having to start tackling today. Understanding the difference between an on-prem solution and cloud can be kind of challenging. And so really understanding the timeline of technology. Tab 32 is a multi-tenant technology. It means we're infinitely scalable. So the way I like to describe it is, think of building a community, one house at a time. Each house is your on-prem server that's in your office right now today. In order to, I've got 12 locations. If I have to update, I have to individually update each single one of those servers. On a platform like Tab 32, we can update everything at the same time. So it's more like a skyrise of condos. We're able to break down walls between locations. We're able to move data as if it's furniture. And it really allows the flexibility needed for true scale within us, which is especially a need for larger DSOs or DSOs as they move into, as they start to acquire more practices. So to wrap things up, I think, we only know what we know until we know it. This is a fast growing industry. And, while everyone on this panel is probably talking, I know I personally probably talk to 1,000 dentists a year. Not every dentist has that access to understand what the industry problems are. So I wanted to put together some of the ideas to help prepare people who are looking to make a software change. From our perspective, it's product, right? When you're looking for a new practice, you're looking for location. But when you're looking for your EMR or your EHR, really understand what your ROI is. Don't let me define that for you. You want to come to your software vendors and say, hey, this is what I need in order to improve my business and to meet my business needs. And as you define what your ROI is, that will help you with your decision tree in making this decision. I think some core areas to look at is, what is the platform built on? How scalable is it? And what are your goals, right? A goal, if you're going from 5 practices to 10, your goals might be very different than someone who's going from 20 to 50 locations. Regardless, both practices need to understand not just today what those needs are, but what your needs are in the next 5 years. Because when it comes to technology, this is practically a marriage. And when you decide to pick your EMR, it's gonna be a partnership, and you need to understand who you're partnering with and what your enterprise needs are. No two DSOs are the same. So one of the things that we realized is, one, we needed to create workflows that were patient-centered, but also that DSOs are incredibly complex. So whether it's a DSO in Florida versus a fast-growing group in upstate Washington, that flexibility and complexity varies across organizations, across their strategy. So we needed to make sure that Tab 32 was highly customizable. We didn't want to take a cookie cutter approach to solving these problems. And I would challenge you to understand, as you're making this decision, what your needs are. There's a difference between what I need and what I want. And when we identify those, then we know exactly how to advocate for ourselves in these rooms as we're making these decisions. I think another core area that often gets overlooked is, what are my billing costs at scale? So this has a direct effect on practices' IPIDAs. And it's an area where on-prem solutions simply just aren't meeting the needs. They were not designed for accrual accounting. And a lot of the bloat, if you will, within an organization comes to trying to solve these accounting needs. So what does centralization look like? What do my billing needs look like? Not just today, but for the next 5 years. At the DEO, Ken Kaufman got on stage and was talking about accrual accounting, and you had a free practice group to say, hey, I just can't afford that today. And he made a really good point. He said, but it's going to help you increase your IPIDA, which is going to help you reinvest in your group so that you can move from free to beyond. And so that kind of goes back to, what's your 5-year, 10-year plan for your group. And then how does technology leverage that? Because you're not going to reach those efficiencies without technology as we go into 2022, 2023. How is the data managed? Tab 32 is the only platform today that allows open data access. And we did that because we realized really early on that because of the complexity of DSOs, they needed to be able to write their own reports. So we allow them open data access. Our open data warehouse is platform agnostic. So you actually don't need to be on Tab 32 in order to utilize these business insight services. And then also just lastly, like, who are you partnering with? What is their innovation timeline? What have they done in the past? What were driving those decisions? What are they planning on doing in the future? To some degree, we're in a little bit of a coding's arms race. And so really, when you understand your ROI, you can understand what you can and can't live without. And that will help you decide what partner you want to pick for the future.